I think we can go ahead and get started. Thank you, everybody, for your patience as we kind of were working on some of these technical difficulties. But welcome. My name is Sue. I am a program associate here at the Elmhurst Library. Just a few things to talk about before we do get started. I suppose Amy and you and I didn't talk about this ahead of time, but we'll do questions, any questions or anything like that at the end. So if you do have questions as we go along, please go ahead and feel free to add them to the Q&A or the chat, and we'll go ahead and answer those at the end. If you'd like to see a live transcript on Zoom, you're going to look for the menu and then look for the it'll show captions. If you don't see captions, look for more and then captions. We're going to put up a poll at the end, just asking for people to let us know how many viewers you have on your device. And I have two programs to tell you about. The first one is called What is Elder Law? And it's coming up on Tuesday, December 19th from 2 to 3 p.m. And then on December, and that is a hybrid program, both in person and virtual. And then on Wednesday, December 27th at 7 to 8 p.m., Take a Break from Stress with Meditation. And that is a virtual only program. And I will go ahead and put the links to those into the chat at the end of our program. And so that's it. I'd like to tell you a little bit more about Amy Duax. Amy is an Elmhurst resident and a mental health therapist at Patchwork Therapy in Elmhurst. She sees individuals over 16 with a focus on anxiety and depression. Patchwork sees kiddos as young as 4 or 5 and individuals at all stages of life, as well as couples and families. Welcome, Amy.
Thank you, Sue. Hi, everybody at home. Thanks for tuning in. Due to some technical difficulties, Sue's going to be moving the slideshow along, so I'm just going to kind of ask her to go to the next one. So this is the Elmhurst Library requested the Beat the Winter Blues for people out there maybe experiencing some changes in mood due to the change of seasons. So I'm just going to go over some basics. First, winter blues and seasonal depression or seasonal affective disorder, also known as SAD, are two different conditions. And knowing the difference between the two can help you or a loved one feel better sooner. So my objective today for this presentation is to help you learn the difference, some treatment or management options, and how to get more help if you need it. You can go to the next slide. According to the American Psychiatric Association, 5% of US adults have seasonal depression, and then about 10% have related symptoms. So that would be more of the winter blues that we'll get into the difference. All right, so 3 main causes of seasonal depression. The first reason is genetics. And important to note, if someone in the home has seasonal depression or the winter blues, it's more likely to affect others, including children and teens in the home. The second reason is the lack of light. So those of us in the Northern Hemisphere, the days get shorter, the nights get longer and darker. That is that change of the fall or the winter season that we're referring to when we talk about that. So daylight affects 2 chemicals in the brain, serotonin and melatonin. When it's sunny, the brain makes serotonin and we get kind of a boost of feeling of happiness and well-being. And then with low levels of serotonin, that can lead to more a low mood or depressed mood. And then also when it's dark, the brain makes more melatonin. So sending high levels of that signals to the brain to be sleepy, ready for bed, less energy. So those are just some of the things that are going on chemically just due to the change, the lack of light. The third reason is stress. So if everything's going wonderfully in your life, you'll probably be less susceptible to the darkness of winter. On the other hand, if you're under different kind of stresses, you may be more susceptible to the change of season. And typically, signs of seasonal depression starts between the ages of 18 and 30. So the winter blues are linked to something like missing a loved one, financial stress around, gifts around the holidays, or even let down after a busy holiday schedule. So it's kind of about a circumstance. It's common. It typically resolves itself on its own in a short amount of time, um, and it's not a medical condition. And then on the other hand, the differences with seasonal depression, it is a mental health condition and a clinical diagnosis. Seasonal affective disorder is more than just the winter blues. So the symptoms can be distressing and overwhelming, and they're interfering with your daily functioning and having an impact on work, relationships, that kind of thing. And it is triggered by the change of season. So we're talking about winter right now, but it can actually happen at any change of season, and it follows a regular pattern. So that's something you can think about. Is does this happen typically this time of year? I've kind of noticed this pattern. So it appears each year as the seasons change, and then it might go away several months later as the season changes again, or we return to spring or summer. It lasts for an extended period of time. And then the impact is sadness, kind of those feelings of hopelessness, loss of interest or enjoyment from daily life. And as with other forms of depression, it can lead to a gloomy outlook, make you feel kind of hopeless, or that affects that sense of worth, or even increased irritability. So you or those around you might lose interest in things that they used to enjoy, hobbies, spending time with friends. Most notably, you're seeing a negative impact on kind of routine, daily functioning, and those relationships. Also, you might note an increase in sleeping, lack of energy, and then change in appetite or different cravings around this time of year. Main treatments for seasonal depression. There are 3 main treatments. So the first one is light therapy. So that can be going outside, opening the windows, sitting near a window, or if you're not noticing a change because of that, then you can look into purchasing a special light box. And at the end of the video, we can share, there's some links on the requirements, which you want to look for if you were interested in purchasing a light box. Some of the details, there's a specific unit, so it's 10,000 lux units of light. So it's more than just a bright lamp or LED light or something like that. It's really specific. There's a certain size, and then you want the angle to be above you and coming into your eyes. So it's really simulating the daylight that we're missing. So I've included a link with doctor recommended products. Like anything, consult a professional or your doctor if you had concerns about that. And if you don't feel positive results, the recommendation is to, in 2 weeks or so, is that you can return it, that maybe it's not a good fit for you. The second one is talk therapy or cognitive behavioral therapy, which aims to help you identify and challenge unhelpful thoughts and learn practical self-help strategies. So the cognitive part of that is to identify those unhelpful thoughts or that automatic negative thinking that we might have or you might see in others, and then learn to reframe it to be more accurate, less negative, maybe even a little more positive. So that could be thinking, oh, I don't want to go to that tree lighting. It's going to be awful. It's going to be so cold. It's going to be no fun. You might want to challenge that and think, how can I explore other possibilities? It might be nice to see the lights. It might be nice to bundle up and get some hot cocoa and maybe just stay for a little bit. But trying to really shift that mindset around it and look at other perspectives. And then the behavioral part teaches people new behaviors to engage in when they're feeling depressed to help them feel better, and then doing it again, doing it again, doing it again. So identifying, that behavior that actually boosts the mood. So maybe it's meeting up with friends, taking a walk, knitting or baking, noticing the positive effects, putting it on the calendar, doing it again. Antidepressants are the third option. And of course, someone with seasonal depression or clinical depression should be seen by a professional to determine if that's the right fit, if medications are needed. Additional areas to focus on are sleep hygiene, stress management, and physical activity that will go into more detail on later slides. Okay, so winter blues management is a little different than a treatment because, again, it's not a clinical diagnosis, but it's just noticing the change in weather is kind of impacting you. You're feeling a little down, so you can try some of these things. So move your body, find something you like, take a fitness class, yoga, walking, cleaning up the yard. Just focus on moving your body in some way every day. In cases of mild or moderate depression, exercise can be just as helpful as antidepressants. And then also the physical activity during the day is a cue to your body that it's time to be awake. So it just kind of helps shift with the cycle of the light and the shift that it has on the circadian rhythms that, okay, we're moving, it's active time, stimulates the brain to be awake. And then consequently in the evening, it kind of lets your body rest because you tired yourself during the day. So that just helps getting that sleep cycle back on track. You can have your vitamin D checked. Again, light therapy is an option. And then making conscious choices about your intake. So focusing on the what and the when of what you're eating. Whole foods, plenty of water, moderating or avoiding food and drinks that have a negative effect on you, or you just kind of notice how you feel afterwards. So that can include, noticing how, sweets or alcohol, how that makes you feel later. And then the last meal is recommended 3 hours before bed. Again, as it's, eating signals to your body that it's time to be awake. So if you're having trouble, that can really make a little shift there in the sleep hygiene area. Stimulate your senses. So decorating with bright colors, even, painting your nails or getting a fun tie, something silly like that might boost your mood. Adding scented candles or an infuser, twinkly lights, just kind of adding to the ambiance, can be a way to enjoy the season. Other ways, to stimulate the senses, playing upbeat music or watching lighthearted comedies. So just being really mindful of what you're intaking in that way also. And then finally, you could see a therapist, talk it out, right? A community of support can be friends and family, but it's important to note when maybe a professional might be helpful who has a special skill set and the ability to focus on you and your needs and tailor strategies specifically to what's going on for you. All right, and then additional tips for teens. So not too different, but just kind of important to note because, the season affects them too. So getting plenty of exercise, especially outdoors, both the daylight and the physical activity can lift mood, spending time with friends and loved ones. So kind of avoiding that isolation that might happen because it's cold, maybe there's less going on. asking teachers for help with homework if it's needed, maybe checking in with counselors around extra support that could be received. Again, drinking water, eating plenty of whole foods, fruits and vegetables. Avoid the less healthy foods, or drinks like candy and soda if it's not making them feel good. Because of course, when your body feels better, your brain feels better. Monitoring social media, news content. So again, just kind of thinking about that intake of what we're taking in any kind of way. Being really mindful of that if this time of year is hard. And then again, the sleep hygiene. So going to bed, getting up at the same time each day. This can help you get enough sleep, and daytime light, that you're awake when it's actually light outside. All right, and then just a little inspiring quote by the American writer Hal Borland. So, no winter lasts forever, no spring skips its turn. So, it just reminds us that change is routine and temporary, and it's also necessary in the natural world. So, this can kind of help with a little bit of the maybe the rigid thinking around the winter. If we view it negatively, this can give us a little bit more flexibility. Um, and that can help with a mindset shift. You can go to the next one, Sue. Thanks. Um, so, if someone in the home has seasonal depression or the winter blues, or even just doesn't like being cold, right? The way we talk about that is going to affect the others around us, and children and teens are more likely to be affected if that's going on. So we can be mindful how we talk about the winter or being cold can make a big difference. So it's simple, but bundling up, making sure we have the right gear, for the right activities to stay warm, kind of taking a couple extra steps to plan ahead, so that we are more comfortable or as comfortable as can be when we're outside. A fun thing to do would be to read up on hygge, which is the quality of coziness and well-being characterized by Scandinavian cultures, mainly Danish cultures. So, if you are at the library, they've got lots of books on hygge, and that concept, which is really cool. So, and the Danes are always number one in happiness. So they're getting something right. And I think it's focusing on what's good. So, with hygge, it's the warm light of a candle. It's nice dim lighting or twinkly lights, or, a warm cup of tea, or, cozying up with, someone on the couch and watching a movie. So it's just really being in the moment and kind of enjoying it for what it is. Indoors. Also, you can celebrate the season. So, honoring the winter solstice, right? Just another mindset shift of like this is a necessary time of year. We need the winter for the spring. So, upcoming on December 21st. In the resources I've included there, there's a really interesting article about different traditions all over the world, that you can read about.
I also have a couple links to books from the library as
Oh,
well
great.
for that I'll share after we're done with all, after I'm done
Yeah,
sharing.
okay.
Then
Yeah,
I
great.
have some things to add for the hygge.
Good, good. Okay, yeah, and maybe that makes sense. Maybe I'll copy and paste the links I think are on the next slide. Oh, well, just another take action, be patient. So, you've heard a couple of ways to manage it, maybe a couple of new things, some that you've thought of, some that you haven't, right? The most important part, I think, is to know the difference of okay, this simple thing is going to boost my mood or someone's mood. Um, and if it's not, doesn't necessarily mean that something more is going on, but it means that it might be worth looking at, or talking with someone about it. If we make a couple of these changes and it's still persistent, it still feels like a pattern, year after year, um, it would be beneficial to talk about it and see if some of those other treatments for seasonal depression are more appropriate versus just kind of embracing the winter season. Yeah. Okay. So here's some of the additional resources to learn more about it. The first one is the NPR Life Kit. It's a quick podcast about how to cope with seasonal affective disorder. An article, how to spot and treat it. And then the third one actually gives you some suggestions on which light boxes they recommend. Because again, there's like specifics for it to be what they're talking about when they're talking about light therapy. An additional article specific to teens, can look a little different for them. And then more of some fun reads on Huga and then winter solstice tradition. Um, Thank you. That was quicker than I thought. Maybe because I can't see you. I don't know. But hopefully that was helpful. I know we'll have time for questions. If you did feel like the next best step was to talk to someone, I've got Patchwork's info here, patchwork-therapy.com. You can find us. You can find other local therapists at Psychology Today, and then there's several local and national numbers, and even a text line that can just be good to have on hand. Especially if someone is having a hard time and support is low, we want to make sure we can get these resources out to them.
Great. Should maybe go ahead and stop the share and then we can
Sure,
take some questions?
sure.
Okay, let me stop that. Um, let's see. If anybody has any questions, please feel free to put them into the Q&A or the chat. I do have a question.
Mhm.
I found for myself last year that it was kind of one of the first times that I was really affected
Mm,
by the seasonal affective disorder, and it was one of those. It wasn't until I was coming out of it that I didn't realize how like bad I was feeling or how
yeah,
much I was struggling, until afterwards. Um, so I was really interested in the light therapy. And you had said like you could speak with a doctor, about either getting recommendations. Do you think like a GP would be able to address that? Or would those be questions that would be better for a therapist?
I think it depends. Like it would depend on your history or anyone's history. I think if you were interested in that, I think a GP would be a good place to start because you would really want to know, like, are there any medical contraindications, right? Based on your medical history for,
Sure.
exposing yourself to that kind of light.
Yeah.
So I think they could point you in the right direction or offer suggestions, you
Okay.
know? Yeah.
Sure. Great. I'm going to look for, would you like me to list and open up any of these links that you had? Would you like me to open up any of these or put the links into the chat?
Yeah, maybe put the links in the chat.
Okay,
Just if people are interested in learning more,
sure.
then they can copy and paste them.
Yeah, absolutely. I can do that. All right, so this first one here is the NPR.
Hmm.
That one.
And that's just kind of an easy listen. It just normalizes what's going on. Like you said, right? When you were in it, you didn't really know, but
Mhm.
imagine if you did, right? How that would have changed
Right.
last
Yes.
year for you.
Yeah, absolutely. Uh, yeah, it was looking back on it now, I, could really spot it. That seemed, yeah, that made sense. I mean, there are some other things that are, times that this kind of time of the year is difficult for other reasons. And
Sure.
but it seemed like it just went on a little bit longer
Yeah.
than
Yeah. Yeah, and that's where, it's helpful to know, right? Year to year, right? Are the same things
right,
hard? Is that affecting it? And then how can you get once you know it's coming, you can be a little more proactive and plan, right, to up
right.
your support, as the
Yes.
stress goes up.
Okay. So let's see. I think I put up the about teens. This is the Hygge, is that right? Am I saying that
Okay.
right?
Yeah.
Hygge. Um, there was the how to recognize. I think there might be one more here.
Yeah, and the light box
Last one.
one is in there, so that's good. I mean, you can Google that too, and make your own decision on trying that, or there's different sizes.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. Um, all right. I just have to open my email and I am going to, we'll get to the other links that I promised you about books. And let's see here. We do have two. The first one is called Wintering: The Power of Rest and Retreat in Difficult Times. And that is by Catherine May.
Yeah,
Um, I think like you said, the library does have many books. I think these are just two of them.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that one, I don't know if she's a poet or a writer or both, maybe both. But just like a very nice way of, again, like just a mindset shift of like appreciation for the season and kind of going back to what was celebrated and the need for these times. If we can kind of embrace what is good about winter, what's
Mhm.
necessary about it, um, that can do a big difference, right, in how we're approaching the day to day.
Right.
Yeah,
Okay.
and then yeah, the little book of Huga, so the Danish secrets to
Yes.
happy living.
Yes.
If anything, it's just kind of fun, gives you good ideas, gets you excited for a movie night or hot cocoa. Which is great, right? And can boost your mood. But again, right, like that is maybe not going to have as big as impact on someone that
Hmm.
has clinical depression or seasonal affective disorder,
Sure.
right? So
Sure.
when we're taking this information and talking with others about it, we want to be aware, right, that everyone's experience is different. But there are many ways to treat it. And, especially those three, talk therapy, light therapy, um,
Yes.
and antidepressants is really like proven really helpful for seasonal
Right.
affective disorder.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. I know. I have been I I think maybe, being aware of it is for me it's been part of the solution. So I've been
Yeah.
really trying to be very mindful about what I'm doing, and making sure that that I'm recognizing signs when things are maybe getting a little bit more tough than
Yeah.
yeah. Um, right now it's very, for me it's very busy with the holidays and stuff. But it'll be January when we're heading into when it's everybody, there's not a lot going on. So
Yeah, and that's exactly it. There's not a lot going on. Kind of the schedules have slowed down, which is nice, but kind of the letdown of that, and it does
right,
continue to get darker and longer
right,
days.
right. Well, I'm going to go ahead and put the links to those two programs, the library programs that I spoke about. And if anyone has any questions, please feel free to add them. And I'm going to go ahead I'm going to launch the poll that is about attendance, and that might pop up on your screen, Amy. You can just cancel that. And I think that's so. And do you, I know your practice sees a whole range of ages. Do you focus more on do you see all ages as well, or do you
I
have
see
one?
young adults and adults.
Okay.
Yeah,
Okay. Excellent.
yeah.
Well, thank you. Thank you so much. I was really looking forward. I was looking forward to the program this evening. So
Good. I know
I'm
it was
glad.
brief, but hopefully that's helpful and it gives you time to try out some new things tonight. All
Absolutely. Absolutely. All
right. Thank
right.
you so much.
Thank you. You're welcome. Have a good night, everybody. And this program is being recorded, and you will receive a link to the YouTube video in a few days. Thank you so much. Thank you, Amy.
All right. Thanks, Sue.
All right. Have a good night, everybody.